Let's turn our attention now to another form of nymphing that was introduced from the Czech Republic and Poland. Nowadays, variations of these methods are recognised as the classic approach for targeting winter grayling. However, these techniques are also brilliant for trout and grayling during high and possibly coloured water in spring, summer and autumn as well. During the warmer weather though, reading the water will conform pretty well to the principles used for duo or trio fishing, with the possible addition of targeting back eddies during high flow or flood conditions. The standard mainstay of this technique is, again, upstream casting with either 2 or 3 weighted nymphs. In contrast to fishing the duo or trio, the tip of the fly line becomes the indicator rather than a dry fly. The same principle of tracking this indicator at exactly the pace of the current definitely still applies here though. Yet again, it's not possible to overstate the importance of maintaining perfect contact between the indicator and the point fly. Any hesitation or movement of the tip of the fly line is met with a deft strike. Often this will be the flies bumping into an obstruction on the stream bed. However, it's imperative that the point fly, as a minimum, skims along directly adjacent to the stream bed, because this is a great place to look for grayling. I'm going to leave the freezing cold crystal clear water and tiny dropper flies approach there for the time being, and have a look at what happens in higher, more coloured conditions. Let's take some angler's eye views of tracking the drifting nymphs. Notice that in slow and even paced water it's okay to lay a little of the fly line on the surface. Conversely, in water that's a bit quicker, you must lift the thick tip of the fly line and the connector loop just above the surface. The default approach should be to keep casts short where possible, and always to minimise the amount of line that is in contact with the water. Fan casting to numerous points allows likely areas to be covered effectively. Initially I'm covering the inside line as I've just taken a fish from this area. However, with no further takes, I'm gradually reaching casts further and further across and upstream until I drop the flies into the next fish holding lie. Today the water is quite a lot warmer than the previous winter session, and I've started with a larger Czech nymph on the point. In this steady pace of water, there's no harm in laying a few inches of fly line on the surface to help judge the pace that the fly should be tracked. Always make sure that the tip of the fly line is pointing right towards your point fly, and that the usual perfect contact is maintained throughout the leader. It's often said that the fly line rating for Czech nymphing does not matter, but in situations like this, a lighter line offers much less resistance to the taking fish. Let's look in real detail at searching the cheek of this current rip. It's sometimes helpful to imagine that you're piloting your point fly like a mini submarine as you explore the different contours of the stream bed. So that when I touch bottom here, I can build up a picture of the pool dimensions. As my flies are allowed to drift into the deeper body of the pool, a fish picks up the small black nymph on the dropper. Notice the short dropper length for improved take detection. I tap a small hesitation of the leader to check if I have a fish. However, I hold back from a full-blooded strike. A second shiver elicits a strike from me and the fish is on. Again, it's the little black seal's fur bead head that's successful. On the replay, glue your eye on the rod tip and see how the combination of light-sensitive rod and direct contact with the point fly enable the take to be seen and felt in the rod tip. You should not rely on feeling the takes, however, as even with perfect contact, the Grayling are masters at delicate takes and quick rejections of flies. However, I'm lucky again, and my setup and good contact is rewarded by an even more positive indication at the rod tip. Another one for the small black beadhead. Although this is a little larger, all today's fish seem to belong to the young 1+ year class. Now let's look at inducing takes during the drift. We've been catching lots of fish from this pool, and there's certainly more still around. However, they'll be used to seeing our flies drifting past by now. So after letting the flies reach depth, a small lift can sometimes tempt a fish to pounce on a nymph as it appears to escape. On this occasion though, a simple variation in the position of the casts proved to be successful. And it's that little black nymph again. I hope you'll forgive the number of takes that we've shown in this section, but I genuinely believe that this very important aspect of nymph fishing is massively underrepresented in all the videos that I've seen on the subject. I hope also that it will convince you of the potential efficacy of this technique, and that this in turn will give you confidence to venture out in the colder months in pursuit of grayling. In this section, we've seen how finding drop-offs into deeper water is often important in locating winter grayling. In fact, the rule of thumb is that the colder the water, the slower and deeper are the pools that we should start looking in. If that approach doesn't work, be ready to modify the plan and look for cheeks adjacent to fast water. Current sliding off gravel